Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Jesus Baena. Baena was shot and killed on Saturday, October 27, 2018, near the Avenue 26 and Figueroa Street Bridge in Cypress Park, according to LA County Coroner records. Miguel Paredes was subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. At approximately 1:30 a.m. on October 27, 2018, defendant Paredes walked through a tent encampment and encountered Sandoval, Figueroa, and a man called Jojo. Defendant asked Figueroa where he was from. Figueroa denied being a gang member. Defendant demanded Figueroa lift his shirt, and when Figueroa hesitated, defendant pulled out a gun and pointed it at Figueroa's head. Figueroa, concerned for his safety, complied. Defendant asked Jojo if he was a gang member, and Jojo said no. Defendant walked away toward the bridge, tagging a pillar with spray paint as he went. When defendant painted on the pillar, he crossed out avenues and painted HLP. Herrera was under the bridge with Flores when defendant walked by holding a flashlight in one hand and a gun in the other. Defendant pointed the gun at Herrera's face and asked what gang Herrera belonged to, and identified himself as a member of the Highland Park gang. Herrera was afraid for his safety. He denied gang membership, and defendant laughed and walked on. Defendant next approached victim Jesus Baena, who was either a former or current member of the Avenues gang. The victim and defendant exchanged words, and then defendant fatally shot the victim. Figueroa heard gunfire, then saw defendant walking back the way he had entered the encampment. As he passed Figueroa, defendant smiled and said, "Alright, good night." Herrera ran after defendant and saw him enter a truck. Herrera described the truck to the police, and the truck matching Herrera's description was seen in surveillance video from the night of the shooting. The surveillance video also depicted the license plate of the truck, which led police to an address where they found the truck. The police began surveillance, and defendant was arrested. After defendant's arrest, he was placed in a cell with an undercover agent pretending to be a fellow inmate. Their conversations were recorded. Defendant identified himself as a Highland Park gang member, said he popped an enemy from the Avs under the bridge, and told the agent he had gone to the encampment for that purpose. During their conversation, defendant described where he parked and how he entered the area. He also demonstrated how he shot the victim. A few days after the shooting, Figueroa identified photograph numbers 3 and 6 in the photographic lineup, saying the man he saw had the facial structure of the person in photograph 6, but his face was more rounded, like the face on the person in photograph number 3. Defendant's photo was number 6. The police also showed Sandoval a photographic lineup. As soon as she saw the photographs, Sandoval looked scared and began to cry. Sandoval initially said, "I think that looks like him," but when the detectives asked her which photograph she meant, she claimed not to know and said none of the photographs looked like the man she saw. The detective encouraged Sandoval to be strong and tell the truth and promised she would not have to write anything down. Sandoval pointed to defendant's photograph and acknowledged she pointed at photograph in position number 6. Herrera selected defendant's photograph from a photographic lineup but said that he did not see the man well. When the detective asked Herrera to write down his identification, Herrera froze, his eyes widened, and he appeared frightened. A detective assured Herrera he did not have to write anything down, thanked him, and asked him where he wanted to be dropped off. Herrera looked down, and then after an awkward silence, he laughed nervously and said defendant's photograph did not look like the man he had seen. Following the trial, the jury convicted defendant of first-degree murder, 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and possession of a firearm by a felon, all committed for the benefit of a criminal street gang. Defendant was sentenced to 50 years to life plus 15 years in state prison. Jesus Baena was 27 years old at the time of death.